Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live with the Pricing Lady. I'm Janine Liston, your hostess. This show is all about helping you build a more sustainably profitable business by charging for the value that you and your products or services or software deliver. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to today's guest, Pauliina Rasi. Hello, Pauliina.
Hello, and thank you for having me in the show. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome. So actually, many of you may not know this, but Pauliina is joining us for the second time. She was one of the very first guests we had on the show when I started back in 2018 sometime. So it's been a while, and I thought it would be great to have her come back on the show and share her pricing journey and where she's gotten since then as well. First, however, I would like to start with a few rapid fire questions so we can get to know Pauliina a bit better. So first of all, Pauliina, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Switzerland, close to Geneva. So we are in the French-speaking part of the country.
And originally you're from?
Finland, in Northern Europe.
Ah, excellent. And what is your superpower, either personally or professionally?
Okay, great. Personally, I have a very wide stock of song lyrics stocked in my head, so I can sing a lot of songs really by memory. However, my singing voice is not spectacular. So, well, the content is there, the delivery, so and so.
Can be worked on. That's funny. When I was a kid and we did a lot of road trips, and I would always sing along with almost everything that came on the radio. And my dad would always yell at me and he'd say, Janine, why is it you can remember the words to thousands of songs, but you can't remember your history homework?
It's funny. It's funny. There's something there that just makes them stick easily.
Yeah. Well, speaking of music, here's another question for you. What's one song that would be the soundtrack of your life right now?
I do love your questions, especially as a former journalist. I do appreciate this line of questions. I've been listening quite a bit of Jamie Cullum recently, so let's go with What a Difference a Day Made.
Oh, cool. What a Difference a Day Makes. Great song. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, excellent. All right. So what's one interesting thing that most people don't actually know about you?
Well, I mentioned I used to work as a journalist, but I think many people know that about me, but they might not know that my dream when I was younger, when I was doing my studies, was to become a foreign correspondent and work in French. And well, now when you look at where I am, I'm not that far from France. So yeah, I'm not a foreign correspondent, but
you're in communications, and you're
exactly we didn't fall that far from the tree.
Not too far. It's funny. I have no recollection whatsoever of what I wanted to be when I grew up, if there was something. So I'm always kind of curious of how people remember that.
Yeah. Well, there must have been other things as well. But I even applied to uni to study the French language, but I didn't get in. I got in journalism. So, well, that's where it got me.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So now let's turn a little bit towards what you do. What kind of value do your clients get from what you do? Well, you can also explain what you do first, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I work with all things written content, a lot with blogs, social media, website. Those are maybe things that most listeners are familiar with, and most businesses need at some stage or another. And I help my clients, first of all, figure out what kind of content they need, what they should say, how they can spread the word about their amazing software or service or product or whatever it is that they are offering. And then I can also help them get the job done. So when they need more hands on deck, when they only maybe have a small team, or they just need more woman power on creating quality content, so I can help them deliver that.
And what is the value of that at the end of the day?
Well, it depends a lot on what the business goals are. The value of content and communication, it can be in just spreading the word, especially if you're in the early stages, just getting your company name out there. But then it can also be further down in the customer's journey, in client acquisition, in lead generation, getting more clients basically. But one thing where content can deliver a lot of value, and that's often a little bit overlooked maybe, is also in onboarding and customer service, especially with tech companies, service-based companies, when you want to make sure that your clients actually make most of your service. They don't just work with you, but they actually get the results, and they keep getting those results after you finished working together maybe. And that's where content and communication can be very useful.
Okay, very good. Interesting. I like it. All right. Why don't we turn towards your pricing journey? So can maybe you can tell us a bit about where you started and what pricing was like for you at the beginning?
Yeah, with pleasure. Well, it's also interesting to kind of look back into all that after all these years. But to be completely honest, when I started out, I was thinking a lot about what I love to do, writing and clear messaging and things like that, and how that could be of help for other people and our businesses. I didn't really think of pricing that much in those early stages. Well, it might sound a bit naive now in perspective, but I really didn't have a strategy or a very clear approach on how I was going to price my services, or why I was going to set the prices I was.
That's very common, I think, for many people at the beginning, that they don't really think about it too much, usually until they have to actually communicate it to someone.
Absolutely. And well, I guess I was also lucky in a way that my first clients, they were very used to buying services, so they had those frameworks in place, so there was kind of a starting point. But when you let somebody else define the value of your work instead of doing it yourself intentionally, it's a little bit of what they say when you take on a new job. If you accept too low a salary, it's very hard to make any dramatic changes or dramatic bumps to it along the way. And if you start with your own business the same way, by just following pricing strategies that maybe your clients' other contributors or contractors have used, it doesn't drive your business goals in the best possible way.
Right. So you started out contracting, and what you were charging was generally led by your clients, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. And other people in the industry, kind of like standard.
Standards, yeah, industry standards, of which there are a few, but we like to think there's more than there are often in pricing. And then you switched things a bit, right? You kind of shifted towards time-based pricing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, exactly. So from there, I then kind of started figuring out how much am I making on an hourly basis, just on average. And I started, well, using that as a base. I've never charged hourly per se. I've often tried to favor package pricing, but that package price was based on my estimates of how long a time a job would take. And well, that can, of course, be another rocky road in a different way, in a different way, because well, some projects take much more than anticipated. Others are maybe shorter, lighter, easier.
Right. Sorry, I'm just responding to someone who said hello to us. So hi, Emmett, if you're still here. Yeah. So shifting to time-based pricing is another methodology for pricing. Gives you a little bit more control over what you're doing. I love the fact that you weren't necessarily communicating that way, but communicating more of a package is I think what you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how was that working for you? Did it work well? Do you feel like it was representative of what you were doing? What was it like?
Well, for a while, I guess it worked relatively well. It worked better than, well, not having any strategy at all. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But the challenge with the time-based pricing is that, well, first of all, if you communicate your hourly, even if it's just an average, usually hourly prices always sound expensive. It doesn't matter how low it actually is. It still sounds expensive when you put it like that. So then it can turn clients off. And the challenge there is that the client don't really know what they're going to get if you have an hourly price. And then from a contractor's point of view, it makes the revenue stream sometimes, well, not unstable, but it makes sometimes a little bit hard to anticipate how many hours are actually included, because clients are very different. What they need need can be very different, and sometimes it's not easy to estimate and anticipate that in the early stages, I find. And what value is for each client, for some clients it can be value that you're very available and you use a lot of hours and they might be willing to pay for that. For some clients, well, other things are considered valuable.
Right. So it doesn't give you it doesn't give you as much flexibility in terms of how much you charge for what you're delivering.
Not really, and then it also puts all the clients in the same line in a way. And well, in early stages, I still am working with early stage startups or very small businesses, and then again, more established small and medium-sized businesses who have very different needs, and also they have different budgets. For them, value is very different. So then putting them all in the same group, it can be tricky as well.
Yeah, it can be. And it also, when you use time-based pricing, you're basically saying that the amount of time that you spend is what the value is derived from.
Exactly.
Which, there is some, it does contribute to the value in some cases, like it's going to take you longer, if there's more text, things like this. But the real heart of the value, I would guess it comes from somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and well, that depends, of course, on many things as well.
Yeah. So where are you now with your pricing, and what, if anything, has changed?
Well, yes, so I guess many things have changed. Mainly the thing that now I have a clarity about what my strategy is. I have a framework with which to work to set my prices for different client groups, for different projects, because I could imagine that many freelancers, independent contractors can also recognize that feeling that when you start calculating your prices, it's always a little bit of a long and laborious process, and you never know where you're going to land. So having that framework and having that clarity and having that strategy in the first place, it has helped me a lot. And where I've moved from a time-based and client-based pricing is moving more towards value-based and different packages, and even maybe bigger and bigger packages as we go. Because also something I've understood along the way was that sometimes I was trying to create small packages to kind of honor my clients' budgets. But then I started seeing that necessarily what the client wants, it's not necessarily a blog post or even a website or landing page, but actually what they want more clients, they want more leads, they want to save their times. And for that, they might not actually need that one tiny thing that they think they have budget for, or that I was originally suggesting. So having that clarity on pricing and also on the value that the offer delivers and gives for the clients has led me to package my services a little bit differently, so that there's not only copywriting, for example, but there's a strategy around that, which gives more value to the clients at the end, because they know why they are doing what they are doing. They often upskill, they upgrade their own skills along the process. They have a lot more clarity in what they are doing in terms of communication and content marketing as well.
Right. I think what's really important there, one of the things that you said is that sometimes what the client says they want and what they actually need in order to get where they want to go are two different things. And sometimes, as the person supplying the service or the product or whatever it is, you have to be the one to say, well, actually, you told me you want to get here. In order to get there, this is what you need. And it takes a certain amount of confidence and maybe even experience, some might say. Certainly, if you have the confidence, that helps, right? To be able to, speak with your clients in that way and have that conversation. Has that been a big transition for you?
Well, I guess over time, yes. Of course, it rarely happens overnight. It's a process. It's a process, as so many things in business. But definitely, I do recognize that confidence and experience aspect. It's not always easy in the early stage, and even less if you're not very clear about well, these things in your business other than your own expertise. So it's definitely a learning process. There's definitely a learning curve there, and it's also a question of maybe the maturity of a business in a way, to find that confidence and also to look at your business in a little bit wider way. And well, here we come also to a communication. It's really about just saying one thing, but thinking about everything that comes before and after, and it's and seeing the context, so that then it also connects to what the client actually wants and how they can get there.
Right. And when you think about when you first started your business and the topic of pricing and where you are now, does it feel different to you?
Pricing, definitely, yeah. I have a lot more clarity and confidence in my pricing as well. So even though, well, to be honest, it's not always easy. There are moments when it really stings and feel hard. Pricing is not a feel-good business where everybody just gets to feel amazing all the time. They will at the end because they really get the results and good value for money, but it doesn't always feel good when you're in the process. But yeah, I have a lot more clarity and confidence. And like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I have that framework. So
Right.
it's not necessarily that I know on top of my head that, okay, if you want this, it's going to cost you this much. But I know on which elements my pricing is based on, and then I can ask myself and my client the right questions so that they get the value, and well, it's priced in a consistent and fair way for both of us.
Right, right. And that's a great point there. I love that. That is very important. A lot of times when people come to me, they're talking about, I want to have a fair price. And I find often myself that I have to remind people that fair doesn't mean just a low price for a customer. It actually, fair would imply, directly imply, that it's also a good price for you and for your business, right? That's super important. Cool. So, Pauliina, we are actually at the end of our time today. I've got a few wrap-up questions here for you. It went so quickly.
Fire away.
So, what's one thing that you'd like people to take away from our discussion today?
That setting up your prices or setting up your pricing strategy is a process, and there's not such a thing as too early. I think it's better to start earlier than later, but anyway, it's a process and a framework that evolves as your business evolves. Because I remember when I was asking myself all these questions, I was asking myself, like, is it too early to really work on my pricing? No, I probably could have done it even earlier, but wherever you are in your business, it's really worth it to think about these questions and ask yourself these questions.
Super. If you think back over, how long have you had your business?
4.5 years.
4.5 years. So what's the best business advice that you've been given that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yeah, that's good. Well, there's actually something I heard quite recently, and it was something along the lines that when you need to invest in yourself and in your business and get help, it's in those moments when you think you can't afford it, you don't have the time, you don't have resources, you can't do it right now. That's usually when you need it the most, and it will also give you the best return on investment.
Yeah, it's those ouchy decisions, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me.
It does. I remember when I was deciding to move to Switzerland, I had already accepted a job offer with another company. And then the boss of the company I was working for came to me and said, will you stay if I can send you to Switzerland? And I said no. And for a week, I was the most miserable person on the planet, because in my heart, I really wanted to go to Switzerland, but I felt like I had given this other company my word. And I remember I'd gone on a bike ride with some friends, and we were standing in a parking lot at the pizza parlor and I was crying. I don't know what to do. And it was one of those moments where, sometimes the toughest decisions are the ones that set you free the most. And I could have never imagined that 21 years later, I'd still be here.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously I gave up the job and came over here.
And the rest is history.
Yes, as they say, right. So what's a favorite book or tool that you'd like to share with us today?
I love, in terms of books, I love a book from, I always get this wrong, Donald Miller. That's called Building a Brand. No, I have to check. I have it in my notes. Building a Story Brand. Building a Story Brand. Because it's a very good introduction to how you can actually use storytelling, and that, the elements of storytelling in your business and your communication in a very effective way.
Excellent. Okay. Last question. If people would like to reach out to you to find out more about what you do and how to work with you, where should we send them?
I'm hanging out a lot on LinkedIn. That's really my favorite social media platform. So you can find me there with my name, Pauliina Rasi. There aren't a lot of Pauliinas with 2 I's. So when you just get that right, you will probably find me very easily. And I would love to connect.
Super. Excellent. So I'll put that in the show notes for you guys, as well as a link to the book, so that you can find that and get over there easily. I will confess here that Pauliina is actually the one who helped me with the copy for my own website. So if you want to see a great example of her work, you can also head over there to thepricinglady.com.
It was such a fantastic project to work on.
Yeah, it was good fun. All right, Pauliina, first of all, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you coming on here again and sharing your journey and giving us some updates on how that's been going. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been listening to your show for a long time, so it's nice to be here.
Yeah. All right, everyone. I wanted to let you know. So this week I've been running 2 web classes, but you missed them. So sorry. If you would like to watch the replay, though, they will be up on my Facebook group for the next week. So you can head on over to Charge Your Worth with the Pricing Lady, but they come down in 5 to 7 days. So you got to get over there now and have a look at that. Otherwise, if you'd like to find out more about how to improve pricing in your business, head on over to thepricinglady.com and book a discovery call with me. That's all I have for you today, folks. I wish you all the best. And as always, enjoy pricing, everyone.